We've had tens of thousands of people get their absentee ballots, and then what we do is if they request the absentee ballot through our website, then we'll follow up with you and we'll take you through the process. And this process is not a simple process. For one thing, and it varies by state, but in most states it's a two-step process. You request your absentee ballot, you get it back, then you fill it out and mail it in. And there are a lot of things that can trip you up when doing it. Some states require a stamp, some don't. I just read that Ohio requires 2 stamps. If you make a stray mark, it might not count. If you tape it shut rather than lick it shut, it might not count. And then you get into the things that really are tripping up a lot of people, which is signature match and lateness of arrival. Now, we think of things as like postmark. Well, postmark in about half the states doesn't mean crap. It's when your ballot arrives. And if it doesn't arrive by election day, your vote doesn't count. Now, here's a mind-blowing figure you're not going to believe. In the recent New York State primary, 21%, 1 out of 5 mail-in ballots were rejected. And it was almost all because they arrived late. I mean, 1 out of 5. And imagine if 1 out of 5, and so many people are planning to vote by mail this year, imagine if 1 out of 5 get rejected. And when you further consider that because of the politicization of voting by mail, it's going to be a lot more Democrats that vote by mail than Republicans. So if you have a lot of vote by mail being rejected, it's going to favor one candidate over the other, one party over the other. And it's never been like that before because voting by mail was never politicized before. It didn't have a partisan bent or advantage. So now that it's been politicized, this could change the results of the election. So we want everybody to know that if you are going to vote by mail, do it, for one thing, get it in early. A lot of states have what's called a cure period, which is if there's a problem with your ballot, they'll call you. So get it in as early as possible. If you are anywhere near election day, don't put it in the U.S. Postal Service. Drop it off personally. You can drop it off at the county election office or sometimes in drop boxes. Every state but Tennessee, you can drop it off personally. There's a lot of ways to make sure your vote counts, but there's a lot of ways that your vote doesn't count if you're not careful. And the craziest one of all is that if your signature doesn't match what's on your voter registration, it can be rejected. And who remembers what their signature looked like the day they registered to vote? If you registered through the DMV, the good news is you'll see it on your driver's license in most states. So you can actually look at your signature and try to make it match. If you registered like on paper or something like that, really your best bet is almost to re-register, use a very good signature, and then use your best signature the second time. Now, this is the kind of thing that I got to admit, I do this for a living. I didn't know any of this till literally a few weeks ago. We're doing this 16 years, and none of this was on my radar. And I started reading up on it, and it's been in the news more, that this is millions and millions of people have been affected by this without even knowing. And it's come out more and more in the last few years. And we have a duty now to make sure that every American is educated about this topic and can make an informed decision as to whether they want to vote by mail or vote in person. And obviously the pandemic means, there are implications to voting in person, but that's why we recommend voting early. If you vote early, you don't have to wait on a line. You can do it before potentially, flu season is coming. And there's a fear that by November, the pandemic could get worse. It hasn't gotten a lot better and it could get worse. So if you are comfortable leaving your home, if you are going to stores and restaurants or whatnot, we recommend that you vote early in person, get it done, be there, and that is your best chance of having your vote count at a time when it's absolutely critical.